thanks for coming to the wedding of Tim and Sarah. Now, let me first say that the bridesmaids look absolutely wonderful today. But they're only brightly outshone by Sarah, a lovely bride who looks absolutely fantastic. And with Sarah looking so stunning, I think the young single men would agree it's a sad day. Sad days. Another beauty leaves the available list. And for the young ladies, I'm sure you'll agree that today's passing by without much fanfare. Now, part of the reason I'm up here as best man goes back to a pact that me and Tim had about 4 years ago. At the time, marriage seemed a long way off. I was between girlfriends, and Tim was Tim. So it seemed like a perfect opportunity to take advantage. I said to him, if you're my best man, then I'll be yours. And I thought the same as many of the people who knew him at the time. Tim, marriage, I don't think so. This was a promise I was confident I would not have to fulfill. Oh, how I laughed when we shook hands on it. And as you can see, no one's laughing now. Anyway, it's down to me, I guess, to tell some things about Tim that you didn't know. What was he like as a person? What was he like growing up? Now, people are sometimes surprised when they discover that I'm Tim's elder brother. Although there are some similarities, like normally I wear glasses, and we have a similar sounding voice, I'm told, there are also clear differences. Tim has, some say, unexplained, bright orange hair. And of course, I have a chin. Tim hasn't said it. Since June 2002. Now, in 1984, Tim was born. Some say unexpectedly, but we won't go into that either. Even though I was 3, I still remember going to the hospital and receiving a quality street from the woman in the next bed to my mum's. There was Tim, all fat and chubby. Not much has changed. She was handing out sweets. Me and Tom and Emma were there, running around like little kids do. She gave me this sweet, a quality street. They still make it today. As you can see, it's tall, it's skinny, and it's ginger. Which brings me nicely on to Tim's teenage years. As a teenager, Tim was a bit odd. One night, he decided it would be a great idea to camp out in the garden. Now, bear in mind that garden is paved. And it's not that big. In fact, we normally refer to it as the yard. This didn't stop Tim, who needs a tent, he said. He decided to camp out under a large thistle in the mud of the flower bed. His adventure, though, was short-lived. When me and Tom sneaked out after him and threw bricks. He was back in the house by 10:45 p.m. There was something about the garden that used to excite him. One evening during a heavy thunderstorm, he decided it'd be a good idea to strip down to his pants and go running around him. Why he did this remains to this day a mystery. Sure enough, he returned to the house, dishevelled once again, but this time, blood was gushing from his foot. Had he been attacked? No, the cause of his unrest was that while skipping around like a loon, he had trod on one of several large snails that also shared a passion for wet paved gardens. As I looked down at his foot, covered in blood, shell, and green snails, I was reminded of the old saying concerning family loyalty: blood is thicker than water, but Tim is thicker than both. Then one day, the bath plug just disappeared. Without explanation. Dad was going around looking for it. Has anyone seen a bath plug? He searched high, he searched low. No one could find it. Tim kept quiet. 6 weeks passed. By this time, Dad had gone to B&Q, and he got a plug with a chain to keep it where it was. And then one day Tim came in from the garden after another visit. Revealed to the family that he'd buried the plug. Again, he gave no reason as to why. He just shrugged and said, "I'm Tim." The 4 words that I used to hear at Tim at school, again, some good stories, but the 4 words I used to hear most often at school were not "Steve must try harder." They were, "Your brother is weird." Only those who knew Tim, or Basil, as it was branded back then, could bear witness to the full extent of his weirdness. One of his passions at that age was singing. And I was reminded during the preparation of this very speech of a song that he would sing to his peers. This was not a song that he had learned from anyone else. This was not one that he made. This was one, sorry, that he had made up. And not only did he sing it loudly and often, he would sing it loudly and often on the bus on the way home from school. One of the only places where he was guaranteed a large and trapped audience. There was even a little dance and a jig that he used to accompany it. And if I don't mind, I think I'm going to do it now. It went like this. Be nutty. Whoa, 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 be nutty. Right, this is where it gets complex. Don't eat nuts if you're allergic to them. Whoa, 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 be nutty. But Tim is not only allergic to nuts. As well as this, he's allergic to eggs, Marmite, some cheeses, cats, dogs, flowers, bananas, dairy, pasta, some pastry-based products, battery acid, porcelain, cider, and for a long time he seemed to be allergic to work. Indeed, Tim's CV is a sticky mesh of disaster, illness and failure, which eventually almost led to the death of the both of us. Tim's first experience of work was with our Uncle Steve, who sat there. Now Steve works in a foundry. Tim lasted 2 days in the foundry before he took the rest of the week off sick. There's a lot of fumes, and he said the fumes were really getting to me. Noxious fumes can't handle him. That was his asthma in him. So 2 days he lasted there. And then famously, now everyone at Campbell knows about this, he said he wanted to work for the LCM. He wanted to do some volunteer work, right? But I remember of the morning when he was going to do this volunteer work, he said, "I'm going to do some volunteer work," because he was humble. I'm going to do some volunteer work. He said, "You should come with me. You should come with me, great. You should do it." He was back home by 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Again, he lasted 3 hours. 3 hours. This time he left in a huff because a drunk had burped in his face. So once again, noxious fumes. Some of you may not have realised, but Tim tried out as a road sweeper. He even managed to fail at that. He lasted the whole day, but he kept the boots. Thus was the reason that he quit as a doctor's mate after 3 weeks. That was a record by Tim's standards. Now I'm aware that Tim's current employers are here today. Just to reassure you, let me just say, forget it. I'm sure you've made a great choice. As I said, if his own career choices back then weren't bad enough, he decided he'd ruin mine. Who can forget the events of the morning of February 11th, 2003, when Tim and I were involved in a major industrial accident involving a forklift truck and a high fall. Funnily enough, I came to got a concussion. But later I found out it was the boy who lured me into the cage. "We could really do one of these in our warehouse," he said. Thanks, Tim. So what changed? Well, I can say that the boy I grew up with is a far cry from the man you see sitting before you. The Lord was very merciful to the two of us, and we give him all the praise and the glory for our miraculous recovery and for all the blessings and for all the answers of prayer that came our way after that accident. And I think we'll both agree that although the events of the 11th of February 03 were horrific, that God used them to bring about his purposes. But I can say that as his brother, from that incident onwards, Tim became my best pal. Sharing the same pain and the same fears and the same injuries brought us a lot closer together. And it was then I realised just how similar we were. And despite some of his annoying character traits, just how much I love him. But what also is true of mine and Tim's relationship is that as well as being my physical brother, he's also my spiritual brother. For we share the same God and the same Saviour. We were both raised by Christian parents who loved God and loved us. And it's a great feeling to know that not only will I spend this life with him, but I'll spend eternity with him too, as Mike mentioned earlier. So it was after the accident that Tim got really interested in open air work. He would be out in London whenever he could, weekends, on a Saturday. He'd even go out on his own. And sure enough, before long, he got interested in the OAM, and soon enough they accepted him, and he came off to sunny Bournemouth with its low crime rate and 7 miles of golden sand. In the back of my mind, of course, I was thinking those country girls might find Tim a bit appealing. He's, after all, quite a dashing chap from the Big Smoke. They might say stuff like, "Oh, he's coming across this carriage." That's the sort of imagery I had of Bournemouth people. The novelty of having a Londoner amongst them, I thought, would do him some good. I was hopeful. Because of course, the girls from his own church, Camberwell, way below Tim's standard. I'm joking. So off he went to Bournemouth to do the Lord's work. And that's about where the rest of you would know Tim from. And sure enough, he fell in love. Tim in love was quite a shock to me. I got a phone call one night, and he was at the Banner of Truth conference. Now I don't know if any of the young people here have been to the Banner of Truth, but basically, it's like a Christian dating agency. People go there and say, "Oh, yeah, it's spiritual blessing," but it's to meet girls, for the blokes and vice versa. Anyway, I got a call and it was Tim and he was depressed. Because he was missing this girl from Bournemouth called Sarah. He'd already asked her out once, but she'd said no. And he was in a right old state. And I goes, "Tim, are you, get over it. You're at the Banner of Truth, there's loads of girls, hundreds." And he said to me, "None of them compare to her." So I told him to come back and, made him a cup of tea. Anyway, second time round, to my utter surprise, this girl, who he kept going on about, Sarah, buckled under the weight of Tim's charm. So by this time I'm thinking, right, who is this girl? What's wrong with her? Is she visually challenged? Did she have some sort of bad upbringing? Maybe it's a green card issue. Perhaps she's one of those jailbirds. His rights are in prison. And they've agreed that, they get married. And Tim had always said that he looked for a girl with a thin waist and a fat wallet. And as you can see, he's certainly got a thin waist. And I don't know about Sarah's finances. But what surprised me most was how good looking Sarah was when I saw her. And people, it was like an event when Tim brought Sarah home. It's got to go around and see this girl, Sarah. And then after they said it, they were like, "Wow, she's good looking." They couldn't quite believe what they were seeing. It was great. But one thing about Sarah, she's a great looking girl, as you can see. She's a spiritual girl too, and she's a woman of great faith, and she shares the same Saviour as Tim too. She loves the Lord, and she will support her husband, I'm sure of it. She's kind, sweet, and quick-witted. And sometimes, she's got quite a sharp tongue. When in France, we were driving through the countryside, and she looked around with this sort of look on her face, and said, "Who would actually choose to live here?" So I hope they're not honeymooning in France. So what's left for me to say? My brother Tim, I can say he's a great man, and he's been a great brother. And I'm sure that he'll make a great husband. And Tim, I hope that God blesses you abundantly in your marriage, both of you, and I hope you have a very happy marriage. So I'd like people, if you would, to fill a glass if you have one, any old glass will do. Let's stand and we'll toast the bride and groom. Ready? To the bride and groom.